Good morning, boys and girls. My name is Bart Picarillo, and I'm going to talk to you today about the honeybee. This is a honeybee. You've probably seen them around your yard, maybe on flowers or on clover on your lawn, or maybe even having a drink of water somewhere. The honeybee is about 3/4 of an inch long. They have 6 legs, 2 wings, some antennae, and big eyes. There's some other bees you may have seen in your yard that are not honeybees. Here are some examples. Bumblebees, yellow jackets, boo, stay away from them. Hornets and wasps, and they live in different nests all around your yard. Here's an example of a wasp nest that's made of paper. You see that up in a tree. But where do honeybees live? Have you ever seen where a honeybee lives? Well, they live in beehives, we call them. And a beehive is naturally made by the bees, usually on the side of a building like this, or maybe a hole in an old tree, or any place where they can stay warm and dry during the evening, and they can hide from predators that will come and harm them. Also, beekeepers who want to raise bees, they make homes for the bees called beehives. And this is what a beehive looks like that's made by a beekeeper. I am a beekeeper, and you ask, what does a beekeeper do? Well, the beekeeper raises the bees to collect honey. Honey is a delicious product that the bees make. It's actually their food too. They produce honey so that they have food over the winter. When there's no food available outside, they eat the honey during the winter. Bees also are very, very important because they help other trees and nuts and vegetables and fruits all grow because they transfer pollen, which helps those plants grow. Very important. This is me in my beekeeper suit. I sometimes wear a suit when I'm going in the hive for an hour because the bees tend to fly around and they land on you, so this way if I have some protection, they don't bother me. But usually the bees are very calm and they don't sting you. So this is a beehive that's in my yard. I made it myself, and that's where my bees live. I currently have 3 of those in my yard. Let's take a look inside the beehive and see where the bees live inside. So inside each of the boxes are frames. There's 10 of them in each box. And the bees store honey and store pollen and they store water all on these frames. And that's where some of the new bees are born when the queen lays eggs. Every hive has one queen only. She's the queen of the hive because she makes all the new bees. She's very, very important. Most of the bees, in fact, are girls. There's only a handful of boys in each beehive. So this is an example of what they call brood, and that's what the queen has laid eggs and new bees are being born. So where you see in the middle those little yellow dots, each one of those represents a new bee that will eventually be born. Here's an example of some honey. On the top of this frame, you can see right here, this is all honey that they've stored, and they'll eat that during the winter. Bees have hair on them, just like dogs. The reason for this is it helps them spread the pollen from flower to flower. So when a bee goes from one flower to the next, some of that pollen gets caught up in this hair and gets transferred from flower to flower, and that's very important. People are afraid of bees usually, but when you're a beekeeper, you're not afraid of bees. And I'm showing you this because bees are very gentle actually, and unless you try to hurt them, they're not going to hurt you. Or if you try to disturb their hive in a violent way, they may want to protect it. But generally, the bees don't want to harm anybody. They just want to collect their pollen and collect their nectar to make honey. So they're actually very nice. But they can sting. They do have a sting, so please don't touch them. When you see a bee, you can look at it, and you can look at it pretty close, but don't try to touch it. So why are honeybees good for us? Well, I told you before, they make honey, and we collect that honey and use it on our cereal or all different recipes, and it's delicious. I know all of you have had it before. And the other thing they do for us is pollinate our crops, fruits, and vegetables. So they go from flower to flower and they collect pollen. I'll show you what it looks like. See these little sacs here? That's pollen in those sacs. And they bring that back to the hive for food. But in the process, when they go from flower to flower, they spread that pollen, and that helps the flowers grow. Here is an example of the honey that I collected from one of my hives. It was very dark that year, and it was delicious. So this summer, when you're outside playing, take some time to look for some honeybees. Where can you look? Well, you can look on the lawn that has clover, those little white flowers, or on regular flowers, or drinking water outside that maybe is in a puddle. But be careful. Don't get too close to them, and don't touch them. They're our friends. Be nice to them. We need them. Thank you, and have a beautiful day. Goodbye.